Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. But so what's your story?
Okay, so a week or so ago, there was a production from New York City Center Encores, which, if you don't know what that is, they're having a moment right now because the Into the Woods that went on to Broadway and is now touring around, that came from Encores. The show that J. Armstrong Johnson is in right now, Parade, that started at Encores. And what Encores is they take a musical that hasn't been done in a really long time, and they do a pared down and sometimes abridged version of it. It's supposed to be focused on the orchestra, so it's a full orchestra, and the orchestra is on stage. Like, that's what they're highlighting, is the orchestral piece. But they do like a staging of the show also, and acting and dancing. I think it's a little bit more of the latter now than maybe it was a few years ago.
Okay.
That's also what Chicago came from, the one that's been running on Broadway for, 25 years.
Right.
When they took the giant production of Chicago that was big and flashy and amazing, then Encores took it and they pared it down to very, very minimal stuff. And now that's what's just kept going because it's probably
cheaper.
The biggest most profitable Broadway show that has existed since it's chairs and girls and underwear,
Right. And prison bars.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a production of Oliver that they just did, in which Raul Esparza was starring as Fagin. Raul Esparza is of SVU fame. He plays ADA Rafael Barba. I didn't know until 2 or 3 months ago that he was also a Broadway guy. When I was fiddling around on Reddit and found on the SVU page, someone posted the link of him singing Being Alive from Company, which he was in like 2006, 2007, around then. And then I fell in love. I already liked him. I was like, I really like this character. I like this actor. But then when he was singing, I was like, oh my God, who is this guy?
Yeah.
So he was in it. And I was like, so decided then and there, okay, I'm going to go see this. I have like 3 nights off this month.
Right. One of which was we were supposed to podcast.
Yes.
Right.
And the other one, I said, okay, this is the night that I'm going to go see it because it's going to like break up my schedule a little bit more. Or it's just going to fit in nicely. It was a long week. It was a long day, but I said, I'm going. I'm so excited. And I get there, like they're making their pre-curtain announcements.
No.
And tonight's role of Fagin, usually played by Raul Esparza, will be played by Gavin Lee. Okay, enjoy the show. It was like 2 seconds before the curtain opened. There was no announcement. Like usually they post it on the poster or they put an insert in the program. Nothing. It was a total surprise.
Oh, isn't there usually a disclaimer in the program too that says they will not do switches like from the original casting?
I have not ever seen that disclaimer in a program before.
Stand by. Because I have my playbill here from the one show I got to see. Oh, well, it says, understudies never substitute for a listed performer unless a specific announcement is made at the time of the performance.
Yeah.
So they did what they were supposed to do.
Yes, they did what they were supposed to do.
That's a bummer.
Or in the case of Sweeney Todd, that Josh Groban is starring in right now, if you go on the website, it'll say Josh Groban will not be playing
There's
during these
specific nights he's
dates. Or,
already-
yes, exactly. Or Thursday nights, it's played by somebody else, what have you. There was none of that, especially since it was only a 2-week run anyway of this Oliver.
Sammy.
I was crestfallen. Like, crestfallen. And I was so upset I could not enjoy it.
Enjoy the show. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't enjoy it. And it was really good. The understudy did a great job, but I couldn't. And I did a shitty thing. People, please do not do what I did. Do as I say, not as I do. I left at intermission because I was like, I really could not enjoy myself. And so on Thursday, the night we were supposed to podcast, I said, I'm going to try this again because I live here. I have the privilege. You know, it's not a crazy amount of money. I can spare it. I'm going to try this again. And he's had a night off and then only 2 performances before that. He should be okay to go again. And it was him, and it was 1,000% worth it. He was so fucking good. So I did get to see my boyfriend, Raul Esparza.
That's amazing. Oh, but I could totally understand your disappointment, though. You are ready to go. Because you know what? You're also just excited to be, honestly, to be there. Yeah. I mean, no matter how many shows you've seen, it's still like, I'm here. Because it is still a production to get to go see a show. Yeah. It's not just like, hey, let's go see a show. Yeah. It's a production.
Yes.
And so, and especially if you wanted to see somebody specific and then like, why am I here? If it's not, it's not to see the person.
Yeah. And I feel bad because everybody else did an amazing job.
Right.
I am in awe of the understudy because he had maybe 1 rehearsal with them ever, or he learned it in just a few hours.
Yeah.
So what he did with that few hours was amazing. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Season 4, Episode 15, Death Takes a Holiday. Sam and Dean try to find out why people in a small town are having near-death experiences with alarming frequency by going into the spirit world. Written by Jeremy Carver and directed by Steve Boyum.
Now, I didn't know this, but for some reason, there was a pause before this episode was released. Like there was a delay, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just a regular like holiday reprieve hiatus, but there was I read something about, and at first I thought it was because of Kim Manners' death.
It might have been no, because he died.
But it wasn't.
January.
He died,
right?
January 25th.
Okay, so this episode was released March 12th, 2009, and the previous one was February 5th, 2009.
So there was a month?
A month off? Yeah, so it might have been... Well, they had a mid-season premiere between episode 10 and 11. Went from November 20th, 2008 to January 15th of the following year. So I'm not sure.
I would just like to say, just like Supernatural, we took a small break between our episodes. Anyway, interesting. So yes, unfortunately, Kim Manners did die during this season, and they ended up dedicating the entire season to Kim Manners. But lung cancer. Eesh.
It was weird that it was this episode, but maybe just because of the theme, maybe that's why they chose to wait. Because his last, he directed, I think, Metamorphosis, which was episode 4. The Rougarou. Right. I think that was the last episode he directed. Maybe this was the last episode he produced or something. I'm not, or that he was a part of in some way during the filming. I don't know, but it was very sweet. You know, their last at the end of this episode, there's those little Easter eggs,
memorial. Rest in peace, Kim Manners. Also, X-Files did a little call out to Kim Manners
Oh yeah.
And yeah, when X-Files did their reboot,
Mm-hmm.
I forget what year it was. But there's a scene where Mulder is in a cemetery and he's drinking and he's leaning up against a tombstone and it says Kim Manners,
Oh.
and it has his date,
Yeah.
his actual dates
Yeah.
on it. And it said, it actually had a quote from Kim Manners, like tombstones have, like, beloved father or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it said, kick it in the ass, which is apparently something that Kim Manners was known to say. So I thought that was really sweet. Little call out. He had his hand in a lot of cool TV shows. So.
Yeah.
So Death Takes a Holiday, obviously a film title. Was it a 1971 film where Death actually does take a holiday from being Death and comes back to Earth, is in human form, and is like, why is everybody so scared of dying? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then he ends up falling in love with a human and is like, oh, this is why people don't want to let go.
No, because it doesn't have really much to do with the episode.
No, other than death isn't happening while
death is not around.
Yeah.
Okay, so in our recap, it's very quick, but we do know that Pamela is back because they feature her past couple of appearances.
Yay!
Yes. Anna the Angel is talking about Lilith and the seals and etc., etc. Flashback to Sam getting braggy mean under the siren spell, and the boys not really reconciling after the fact. Are we good? No, you're not good.
Nope.
So in our now, there's just two guys walking out of a bar chatting about fantasy football when a kid tries to mug them. He's got a gun. But there's another kid in the background, slams down a dumpster lid by accident.
He's like taking out the trash from the restaurant. Yeah.
Yes, and he's so enthralled or like in shock of what's happening, he accidentally, drops the lid. It makes a noise. The kid with the gun gets scared and he shoots one of the guys straight in the chest. He runs away. The other guy calls the cop, and his friend is like, "It's okay, buddy. Hang on. But the other guy's fine. The shot guy is fine. He sits right up, and he's like,
huh.
Nothing.
Yeah, his buddy's like, why aren't you bleeding? Because he had his hand over the wound, and he's like, there's no blood. And the guy's like, I don't know.
There's a bullet hole. Yeah. No blood.
No blood. Dun, 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 title splash.
Yeah, that's it. I liked both the recap and the teaser because it was so short. It was sweet, short, to the point. Great. Let's just move along and get to.
Let's get to the show. Can I point out, because rather than stopping in the middle of all of this, there's so much pop culture in this episode, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so much. I'm just gonna list it all.
Yeah, I started to, and then I just gave up
because it just kept happening.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a Starsky and Hutch call out about Huggy Bear. Joe the plumber was, some political. Well, let's just say he spoke out about Obama's tax plan, and he became like the Republican, choir boy. There's a reference to House. There's a reference to Happy Days and Chachi. The Outsiders is referenced again.
Mm-hmm.
The Ramones, Demi Moore and Ghost, Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense, Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid, Yoda, Amityville Horrors, Fight Club. That's where I stopped taking notes. But I mean, I was like, wow, every other sentence is some sort of pop culture. But wow.
Yeah, it was wild.
Did you look up who the boy is?
I had recognized him from an SVU episode, but I didn't look him up.
Do you know who he's Nemo.
He's Finding Nemo?
He's the voice of Nemo.
Wow.
Yeah. So Alexander Gould is his name. I was like
just in the first one, right? Not obviously in the second one.
I'm assuming he was just in Finding Nemo. He was Nemo.
Well, in the second, I guess Finding Dory, I think Nemo also makes an appearance in that movie. but that movie is like 15 years later, so I doubt that he was also the voice of Nemo.
His voice dropped just a little bit. But yeah, no, he's in Finding Nemo. He's Nemo.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
So I kept listening to see if I could hear little hints of Nemo.
No, he's got the past puberty at that point.
Yeah. So the now, Sam and Dean are at a diner. Yay. Dean's, at the jukebox.
Eating.
Sam is researching. Yeah, right. But Sam says that Bobby called and that he gave him an idea about this case, about people who aren't dying in this town, like the guy who just got shot in the chest and didn't die.
Yeah, aren't dying when they should be dying.
Right. I think that Dean said, like, when Sam says this guy got shot with a 9mm and didn't die, and Dean's first assumption is, was he like shot in the ass? Capped in the ass? Sam thinks it's possibly a crossroad demon deal with people making deals to not die. And so Sam's like, let's go check this out. But Dean stays at the table still eating, and not because he's just Dean eating. But he kind of looks up and is like, you sure you want me to go with you? After all, I'm just holding you back. So he's still mulling the siren song.
What a passive-aggressive moment for Dean.
Yeah.
He's very butthurt about Sam's
hurting his
proclamations, I guess, hurting his feelings under the siren spell, which Sam even says, it's like, that was the siren, man, come on.
It wasn't
really?
Me speaking.
I thought we were past it. It's like, yeah, we're past it.
Yeah,
again, I say toxic masculinity at its best.
Yeah. So clearly Dean's still not past it.
So now we go to the house of the gunshot survivor.
Gray Bull, Wyoming.
Yes.
Which is a real town.
It is. They are posed as bloggers of the website flooredbythelord.com.
What's funny is I find this more disturbing than if they had shown up as dressed as priests. I find it harder to accept that they are faith bloggers than if they had just shown up dressed up as priests.
Although Sam kind of evokes somebody of a youth group to me a little bit. Maybe it's the hair and the flannel a little bit or something.
Yeah, but definitely not Dean.
Not Dean.
Lord by the Lord.
Which I did go to the website to see if it exists. It does not.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think.
I think, because I remember Conan O'Brien one year back in like early 2000s. He had this bit where it was called Horny Manatee, because this came out because one of his in his back and forth with like Andy Richter or something, he just mentioned, people are going to hornymanatee.com off the cuff remark. And then the next night he was
looking for it.
Yeah, the next night I guess his producers came to him and said, we now have to buy this website, because anytime you mention a website on air, it has to be something that we own so people don't take it.
Oh my gosh.
So they bought the website, the domain name hornymanatee.com, and they made it into a bit for a long time. And now if you just go to hornymanatee.com, it takes you straight to NBC, I think.
Oh, okay. They're like,
but
done.
They did build a website for it. So I was hoping I could find Floored by the Lord. And I couldn't find anything even in the Wayback Machine. So
it must have been.
Maybe they just bought it and put a placeholder that said coming soon for a while. But now it is available. So listeners, if you are interested in the website Floored by the Lord, it's up for grabs.
Oh, well, thank you, Supernatural, for putting it on hold. So Sam and Dean are interviewing the guy who got shot and didn't die, and says basically, what makes you, like, what happened? What do you think? Why do you think this is a miracle? Because the guy has been telling people it's a miracle. His bottom line is, he said, I wasn't a good dad. I wasn't a good husband, not particularly good. And so I think this is God's way of giving me a second chance, which ding, 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 which is what, Dean's been saying about his particular experience with God.
And the guy also says something about the angels are watching over him, which is kind of a magic phrase that has been used word for word throughout this season.
Yeah.
Sam, meanwhile, goes straight to the point. He's like, have you gone to a crossroads? Which, if someone were to ask me, have you been to a crossroads? Like that word, that phrase, it's not a common term that it was like, what do you mean? A crossroads to where? What are you talking about?
An intersection?
Yes,
sure.
an intersection, yes.
I drive through them all the time.
Yes. Have you seen anyone with black eyes? He's going straight to the point, and now this guy is like,
who the hell are you guys?
What is going on?
Yeah, red eyes, black eyes.
I have a question for you. Did you feel, because I did, that Sam and Dean's roles switched in this interview?
100%. 100%. Because like you said, Dean's being all emotional and butthurt. And during that moment where he's like, well, I guess we're okay, there was like melancholy music playing, you know, it wasn't any supernatural music. And yeah, there's only one moment later on where Sam is like Bedside Sam. But the rest of the time he is all straightforward, and not only straightforward, cut to the chase, but lies.
Yeah.
You know, and his emotional connection to people is not there.
Yeah. But in this scene in particular, it was very obvious because Dean, I felt, was being very bedside-y.
Yes.
And like, oh yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah. I get it. I get it, guy. Where Sam is just like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And it's and that's when the guy is like, and who are you again? So at this time it's not Dean who asks the inappropriate or awkward question.
Yes.
Yeah. It's Sam, and that's so it's, you know, they're like, all right, well, end of discussion.
Yep.
So we find Sam and Dean at their motel. At the, what is it called? The Broken Pony. Wait, no, I wrote it down. Broken Saddle. I was close.
Oh. The
Broken Saddle Motel, which is like totally lives up to its name because it's like dingy. The walls are weird. It's just a weird motel.
I like this motel.
It had some great color schemes because it had some like some of that whitewash with green, you know.
It was grungy. It was like the one from, I think the first Trickster episode, maybe. Remember, it was a really kind of gothic one where the boys are getting angry at each other because things are
mysteriously happening. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The money clip, the tires,
the car.
Yeah.
Bobby is like, come on, you guys.
Did you notice in this? There's like, it's a weird motel room. Just there's like a bathroom in the corner of the room there's no door. It's literally the corner of the room with a shower curtain. You can see like the tiles on the wall. It's like, because they have those room dividers, but this weird room divider is by the bathroom.
Weird.
It's not by the front door. It's not by I was like, what's going on? Why is Dean able to be in the bathroom talking to Sam, but there's no door? It comes up later. But they've both been researching. No deals have been made from any of the living dead people. No skeevy Faith healers. A little callback to Faith.
Sam found a cancer survivor who went out to anniversary dinner with his wife a day after the plug had been pulled on him.
Yeah, so souls just aren't getting dragged into the light, so they say.
And this is where like Sam hits the nail on the head. He's like, well, maybe there's no one to take them. Maybe there's no Reaper. Where are they? What's going on?
Right. And I find it interesting that Dean, you know, harkens back to his first Reaper experience, which was when he got electrocuted in Faith. When the camp, the Faith
Reaper,
healing
the one
camp
that was controlled by the guy. That's right.
That's what's happening. So no Reapers equals no death. So why aren't the Reapers reaping?
Right. So then they want to talk to the last person who did actually die in this town, which was a kid. A kid. Because I was like a dead kid, and I combined the word. About 10 days ago. So let's go talk to this dead kid.
Yeah.
A normal phrase in there.
That's what we do, right?
Life,
right. A fun fact.
Yeah. So they're in the graveyard. They're trying to do some sort of seance. Sam is kind of sure it's going to work.
Yeah. Dean is uncharacteristically skeptical.
Yeah.
Normally he's like, let's do this thing. And he's there. Like, that's what they do, is they call on the dead, or they, like, you know, bring out the ghost ship spirit's brother and, you know, the zombie chick who, you know, anyway. Yeah. But this time he's like, I don't know. So you sure this is going to work?
Yes. And I think maybe he doesn't want it to work, because a couple seconds later, he's like, a bunch of people are going to die if we solve this case. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. They're good people. They shouldn't be dead. No. Sam is black and white. There's a natural order to things. And here, I loved this because Dean, this is the theme of Supernatural. You're kidding, right? You don't see the irony in that? We're like the poster boys of unnatural order. All we do is ditch death.
Yep. I'm all for the salt and burning of stuff. You know, want me to kill a demon? I'm there. But not this. This is good people dying because we're interfering, basically.
And Sam retorts with like, yeah, exactly. We're not normal. I have demon blood infections. You were in hell and escaped. Right. So
literally. So yeah, we are not normal.
Yeah.
Which, very matter of fact, not very Sam-like.
Yep.
And also not very like harkening back to Sam always saying, we're not all killers type of thing. But they're interrupted by some guy with a flashlight. And, he's like, is this devil worship? And, Dean says, oh, it's not what you think, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not what it looks like, but I got nothing. My question is, why didn't they say, what are you doing out here with a flashlight? I was like, wouldn't that be the next question? It's like, oh, I know what we're doing out here. What are you doing out here?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just assumed it was a graveyard security guy. I don't know. Well, I took it in stride. I didn't have any questions about the guy with the flashlight, but it's not a security guy, and it's not just a guy with a flashlight. It's Alistair. He's
Alistair. Back, and he's got that's Alistair. And he shows us his white eyes, and he calls Sam by his name, and now we know that the boys are in trouble because Alistair is here. Alistair like flings like mind blasts Dean, across the cemetery and cracks his head into a tombstone. He tries to fling Sam, but Sam doesn't like whoosh out of the way. He doesn't fling.
Doesn't budge. And in fact, Sam is like, haha, look what I can do now. And he does it to Alistair. Flings him up against a tree with his mind. What the fuck?
And Alistair, as he's being held up against a tree by Sam's force of will, is like, oh, you've been solo flexing with your little slut, which I'm just going to say, poor Ruby.
I know.
It's just like, girl can have sex and not be a slut, but I get what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I also love that Alistair referenced Soloflex. Do you know what that is?
No.
Soloflex came out in the 80s. It was like it was a brand of workout equipment. It was like the home gyms that, the weightlifting
like a
gyms.
Bowflex kind of thing?
Right. Soloflex was first. Then Bowflex came out. And I have to wait. Oh, can I share something with you on this? Wait. I'm sorry. So when I was in high school, Soloflex posters.
Yeah.
I didn't have this poster because I was still, I'm going to just say I was maybe a freshman in high school, but my sister had this.
Oh my God.
And I used to sneak into her room because, I wasn't allowed in my sister's room much. But I used to go in there and just look at the poster. But this was their motto was, a hard man is good to find.
Oh, I see.
That was their workout motto. So the reason I went through all this is because I was particularly tickled that Alistair mentioned Soloflex. And this is in 2009. He's referencing Soloflex, which was, it phased out. It may have still been around in the 90s. I mean, it's still around, but it's not a thing.
Yeah. So
the fact that this like guy, this demon mentioning Soloflex in 2009, I was like, oh my God. So I had to. Okay. It absolutely made me giggle. That was a lot of reference for a one-liner throwaway.
So anyway, Alistair escapes from his meat suit Because Sam tries to exorcise him and he leaves before then. So Alistair is gone.
Smokes out.
But you're left with, holy shit, Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. In the meantime, Dean's still knocked out. So he doesn't see any of this.
Yeah. Next time we see him, he's back in the hotel nursing his probable concussion.
Concussion, yeah, with ice on his head.
And then when he asks Sam about, well, what happened? Sam tells a very obvious lie about how Alistair got away.
And Dean sees it. He's like, listen.
Everybody could see this. He's not a good liar.
Yeah. He's like, fine. He's like, fine, keep your secrets, but just don't treat me like an idiot. Yes. Which is like the first really good thing, first Dean thing that he said in this episode. I don't mean good thing, but it's like Dean is kind of pulling his boots back on at this point. And not hiding his skepticism either. He's like, I know you're lying. And I'm not going to try to hide that I know you're lying.
But we need to, but we need to keep going with this case. So we'll come back to this.
So Bobby has called in the meantime, and given more information. Like, yes, I think it's a Reaper. I think the Reapers have been kidnapped too. So I am patting you on the back for your detective work. Demons are kidnapping Reapers. And he finds out Sam has researched that if by kidnapping and killing a Reaper, you can break a seal.
Yes, it's if they kill a Reaper under the solstice moon, which is tomorrow, a seal is broken. And this I went into a little rabbit hole down because I'm not really familiar with that book, with the Book of Revelation. He spouts out like this little poem and throws it off as it's an obscure reference to a really old translation of the, Revelations.
Right.
So I just typed that in to Google to see what came up. And it seems like it's bits and pieces of different chapters of the book.
Oh, okay. That Supernatural put together.
Jumbled up, and turned it into a fancy little poem. I also don't think that there are 66 seals, but just 6 or 7.
That's what I keep reading.
Yeah. But maybe we've mentioned this before. I can't remember, honestly. But that's what... I didn't read the whole book of Revelation, obviously, but just they said, and then the 5th seal, and then the 6th seal. And then they mentioned sort of a 7th seal, and then I didn't see any more references to seals. Like higher numbers than that.
We may have to actually research.
I know. It is kind of a juicy little book, though. It's like maybe I should just read it.
Read it. What? Don't just Google
it. Yeah. So they need to go talk to a Reaper, but the only way they could do that is if you are dead or dying. So
they're like, we could use an angel. Well, why would you think that? That's what I thought that was an interesting. Why would you think an angel's gonna help you at this point? Because the angels have done nothing.
Right.
I was like, oh, we could use an angel. No, I don't think so. So we need to save the Reaper. I love that. I like that. Like, we become ghosts. Oh, point blank.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll just die a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah, that's all right. Enter Pamela.
Yes.
Yay, Pamela.
Yuck.
Yes, hot psychic medium who had her eyes burned out by Castiel. And still pissed about it. Yeah, can't blame her. And of course, you always are awkward around. I will always say the wrong thing.
Oh yeah,
around somebody.
Yep. 100%.
And they, Sam says the wrong thing, like, "Hey, you're a sight for sore eyes," which she automatically takes as is that a blind joke. But also in Sam's defense, that's the same thing Bobby said the first time we see Pamela is your sight for sore eyes.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of sass going back and forth. There's a lot of flirting going back and forth. But eventually, the boys do convince her that she needs to help them. Otherwise, there will be no leather pants or Ramones.
No Ramones. And she's like, well, who thought of astral projection as the way of doing this? And Sam's like, Dean is like, me. And she's like, great, brilliant idea. So not killing them, just doing astral projection. Yes. So they're not ghosts. They are having out of body experiences because I did look this up. This was fun. Here's the definition of astral projection.
Okay.
Voluntary out of body experience or the act of leaving your body while sleeping. I came across, I kid you not, how to astral project safely in 7 easy steps. I love the internet.
There's a wiki for astral projection?
I love the internet.
That's amazing.
And
did you try it?
I read it.
Yeah.
I did not try it because some of it seems silly. But it's really just about meditation and deep relaxation and trying to visualize being out of your body type of thing. And I love that one of the steps is like, you should now see yourself laying on your bed. You are now it literally is like, and you are now an astral. I was like, really? So as an out of body experience, I'm still reading the handbook on, on what steps to take next. As opposed to Pamela, who thinks this is insane because it's ripping your soul out of your body. So slightly different take on astral projection. And she's also, like I said, she's still mad. I didn't want to be invited into your stupid, angel demon, Soch, greaser battle, which is the Outsiders reference.
So she lays them down, does some sort of Latin incantation, which is that part of the 7 steps, a Latin incantation?
It's not.
Interesting.
It's not.
Okay.
I decoded what the Latin incantation is. It says the mind wants to be deceived, so let it be deceived. And then the vis thing is force, which I'm not quite sure why that's in there.
See, I thought it was maybe like see something about sight.
Yeah, vision. Yeah. Vis in Latin is
interesting.
Yeah, like so invincible type of thing. So it makes sense though. Let the mind be deceived. Dean doesn't think it works, and then he notices that his body is still laying on the bed.
You should now be looking at yourself lying on the bed.
Yourself.
He has reached step
number 5.
Step 5. Okay.
Yes. And Sam is now next to him. So Pamela did her thing.
Yes.
They are now in the veil, so to speak.
Yes. And I like that they have like a color palette change for the veil. It's a little bit more subdued and muted.
Yes, a little bit grayer. Yep.
As they are astral projected. She's talking to them. They can't talk back, or she can at least hear them. And she says, don't worry, I'm going to whisper the incantation to bring you back. Goes to Sam and whispers, you have got a great ass.
Which at first I thought, that's a weird incantation to bring somebody back. Like, I will say the magic words and you will awaken refreshed and you have great. So clearly that's not it, but I misread what she was doing. I just love that Dean's like, what'd she say?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah. So I'm going to point out there's a switch here in Dean. There's so much horn dog Dean now for the rest of this episode. I'm like, what? Jesus, because he makes a comment about once he realizes that he's in the veil, and he's like, let's go feel up Demi Moore. That's the ghost reference.
Yes.
But yeah, he horn dogs his way through this a couple of times. And I'm like,
yeah,
gross.
And then like 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes later, when they're making their ghostly way around town, Dean has his attention span has dropped, and he's like, let's just go peep the dressing rooms at Victoria's Secret.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like, oh, we're not finding any demons. We're not finding any reapers. Let's just go, Google naked women while they can't see us. Yep. So
he turned into that invisible kid from Wishful Thinking.
Yes.
He's using his ghostly powers for
Mrs. Johnson.
Locker room peeping.
Yeah. Right. So we know that they're ghosts or that they're in the veil because like a jogger in the real world is able to run right through them, which is kind of fun. And Dean's like, hey, this is cool. He tries to do the same thing to Sam. Sam is not having it. Like, can you not?
Get out of me.
Get out of me. Get your hand out of me.
And then Sam spots a kid looking at them through the window. And then he does the ghostly, glitchy apparition exit. And they recognize it as the dead kid that Dean had researched from earlier.
Yeah, Cole Griffith. I'm just going to point out that the Haley Joel Osment in Sixth Sense, his character's name is Cole. The dead boy. Okay. So in Cole's house, Cole's mom is wandering around sad, but saying things like, I think you're still here. I think I feel you. Can you give me a sign? that you're still here.
Yeah. Cue a soccer ball to her face.
Right? I was like, wow. And Sam and Dean walk in time to have the mom like rush through their bodies as she's leaving the room. And they're like, hey, how's it going? Because the boy like is now throwing balls at them. Mm-hmm. Sam is like, stop. Dean's like, how'd you do that? So 2 very different approaches to what's happening. And this is where I think Sam turns into Bedside Sam for just a second, because he tries to calmly say to the boy who's like, who are these 2 guys who are talking to me? Like, I don't know how to tell you this. Everything's okay, except you're dead.
He knows that he's dead. He's like, yeah, I know. I was outside. I had a bad asthma attack on a really cold day, which I didn't know that would make it worse. But, then I died. And some creepy guy tried to take me away, but I didn't want to go, so I stayed. And then some black smoke came to take the Reaper away.
Yep. So suddenly the lights flicker, there's wind in the house, and Cole glitches out and disappears. Mm-hmm. And then this wispy, like, white figure comes swooping through the house, and it turns out it's another Reaper. Mm-hmm. Sam and Dean go chasing after, like, hey, come back. And down come the stairs is Tessa from Dean's accident after they got hit by the semi truck.
Yep. And she recognizes them, particularly Dean. And Dean is like, excuse me, have we met?
Yeah. You're gonna have to tell me who you are, or you have to refresh me or remind me.
And she does so by making out with him.
Yeah, which he doesn't even take a step back from, which I thought was funny, is that she steps into his face and kisses him, and he just stands there and
he's just like, okay. I mean, what? Of course he would. He was like, oh, cute girl.
Right?
Although if it's also a Reaper and a monster, and he's so against like monsters, he just made a comment to Sam the previous episode, all you do is, sleep with monsters. And here is one making out with him.
Yep.
It was that was just a weird.
Yeah. So that's the way that she's refreshed his memory. He sees everything that happened in my time of dying. He sees the car accident. He sees himself in the hospital, and he sees her as a Reaper. So Sam and Dean try to convince Tessa to not reap. Don't take the kid. Just leave town is what they're trying to do. Is like, you're in danger, girl, Molly. Leave town. And she says no, this is my job. This is what I got to do. So they say, okay, just hold off on reaping the kid while we figure all this stuff out. Please don't take the boy. She agrees.
Yeah. This was interesting because I would feel like she would want them to help her, considering demons are taking Reapers. That's her tribe, her race, her people.
Yeah.
Wouldn't she want someone to, if someone is disrupting her natural order of things, her job?
Right.
I don't know. It was interesting. She was just like, no, I'm not going to help. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, maybe she was just in a hurry to, double time since
I guess so, yeah.
making up for the lack of Reapers. But the reason they need Cole because they need him to tell them about the black smoke and, what's been going on.
Yeah, where it is, and, because he knows where it's been living or stationed at. Yeah.
So Sam takes his Bedside Sam to go talk to Cole to see if he can get him to trust him and to tell him what happened. And so he, in telling Cole, trying to get him to start answering questions, he lies to him. He's like, I can make sure all this goes away, that you can stay here with your mom because that's what you want. The Reaper won't take you. I will, I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Shake on it, pal, type of thing. And lies right to the kid's face. And the kid believes him and is like, okay, I trust you. Last time I can tell you where the smoke is. The smoke was at my funeral. At the cemetery? Yeah. No, at the funeral home.
And meanwhile, that's happening. Tessa and Dean are having a weird, flirty heart-to-heart because he's the one that got away from her, which doesn't happen very often. She always gets her man. And he's come to the conclusion, I've always felt like something was missing, or there was something that was holding me back from enjoying life, and it's because now that I have all these memories, is I wish that I would have gone with you. I wish I would have just
stepped into the light.
Yes, let it all go and not have to deal with all this pain of, losing my brother, then later losing my father, this hell nonsense.
Yep. Tessa doesn't seem to be at all moved by this, by the way. She like her face is like soft and gentle, but she's like, and she jumps into, does she do this yet? No,
it's later, because he was like, I feel like somebody's giving me a second chance because I was an asshole. And then someone pulled me up from hell.
And then Sam interrupts them.
Yes.
Second chance, yeah. So Sam interrupts. He's got Cole, and he tells them, about the black smoke at the funeral home. So they're like,
cue black smoke.
yes, exactly. The wind, the glitchy, the lights, the wind, and a massive cloud of black smoke blows into the house, swoops around everybody, and flies out again. And now Tessa's gone.
Yeah.
The boy is still there, but Tessa's gone.
Yeah.
And, Dean's like, well, how are we supposed to fight against that? We're just these two guys. And, cue Cole teaching the boys how to be ghosts.
Yes. This is a total ripoff of Ghost, the movie.
Yeah. Which I think is,
It's very funny. It's the Vincent Schiavelli, who's like the subway ghost, who's teaching Patrick Swayze how to ghost, how to get mad and
focus your
things.
anger.
Yes,
exactly.
I like that they reference Mr. Miyagi, and this kid is like, "Who's that?" So our first lesson is making things move by concentrating really hard. Telekinesis, is that it? Is there telekinesis?
Yeah, telekinesis. Okay. Yeah.
Second lesson, Fight Club.
Yes.
Getting mad and beating up the boys. That was fun to watch. This kid just beating the living shit out of Sam and Dean.
Backhand Dean, punch Sam. Yeah, both boys enjoyed.
Yeah. And the third lesson is the glitchy apparating that ghosts tend to do.
Yeah, how to disappear in one spot and reappear in another.
Yes. And that's I like how the coolest thing. Dean is excited about these classes. He's like, you gotta teach us this.
You gotta teach us that. Yeah, even the kid is like, this is the cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the boys, armed and ready and graduating ghost school, go off to the funeral home, which is covered in supernatural sigils and symbols and
with the dark paint.
Languages. Yes.
They don't know what it is. They're like, oh, well, maybe this is only something you see when you're in the veil.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop them from entering because they are able to.
Yep. And so inside the funeral home, they come across Tessa and some old guy reaper who are laying on the ground in some sort of painted trap. And they seem to be either knocked out or asleep, but they're not moving. Dean sees a guy like standing guard. And he's like, watch this. And so Dean like glitches out and does the reappear, tap on the shoulder, and then as the guy turns to be like, who's that? Punches the guy and then disappears, reappears, punches the guy. This goes on for a little bit. Sam gets into the action. And they knock this guy sort of out. They knock him out of the way. And you hear somebody else come into the room grunting and groaning. And it's this guy who's dragging chains, who ends up encircling Sam and Dean in now like these iron chains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did they not just step out of the way? Honestly, because he's like, oh, as he's stepping into the room, clearly he's burning himself. So he's a demon. He's burning himself on these chains. But I was like, this guy made so much noise. How did Sam and Dean not just be like,
I feel like it was maybe they forgot for a second that ghosts can't get near iron.
Okay.
I think they were just having so much fun. Because I wrote down, being a ghost is pretty rad, except for that whole iron thing, which the demons put to good use. I think they were so caught up in the moment. It was like, woohoo, we're beating up these demons.
Yeah.
That they forgot, we're not completely invulnerable.
So now they're trapped inside this circle of iron. And cue enter Alistair. Alistair walks in and does his, he doesn't say hello boys, but he goes boys, which I was like, he has his hello boys moment.
Yes, so this is the third actor now that has been Alistair, I believe. The first one, which I loved. I loved the first guy, the pediatrician. Yep.
And then there's the cemetery guy.
His body had been incinerated by that weird angel trickery moment that they did in the barn or wherever they were. Yes, then the cemetery guy, and now this guy.
Now this guy, who, by the way, was on Stargate and Stargate Atlantis, and
he was in a lot of things.
Yeah, what's his name? Hold on, I want to mention him because
Christopher Heyerdahl.
Yes, Smallville. He was also on Smallville.
Yes.
I loved him. I loved him in this. I love his like. Oh yeah, it's like Marlon Brando.
Yeah, he took that Godfather thing that the first guy was doing and like upped it a few notches. And it did take me, I remember when I first saw this guy.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, what is this?
It took me a minute to get used to it, but then I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And it's like I enjoy like impersonating him.
Yes. Going back like this. It kind of hurts. I'm not going to do that.
That's okay. So clearly this was a trap because he's like, you find the place okay? You know, yeah. So Alistair, not a dummy. Mm-hmm. While he's monologuing to the boys, another demon comes up, hands him a shotgun, and Alistair proceeds to shoot Dean with rock salt. Yeah. And it's like, not so funny when the rock salt's in somebody else's gun, you know, basically. And,
I loved that. As he's doing this monologue, every now and then he'll just shoot one of them for fun.
Yep.
And he even spoke about this in an interview. He said it was one of those things they had to just basically duck down out of frame so they could do their effect thing later. But it was like whack-a-mole almost, where he'd shoot and then they'd just pop down and then pop back up and then pop down and then pop back up.
Oh my gosh. I love that stuff. Yeah. It's like, how'd they do that? No, the actors have to like fall on the floor and then stand back up. And fall on the floor and stand back up. So what we learned though in this whack-a-mole rock salt moment is that Alistair doesn't just kill one Reaper and he breaks a seal. He has to kill two Reapers. I thought it was interesting because they say you can't kill death or you think you're going to kill death. And I was like, well, Reapers aren't death, right? Reapers work, alongside death. So I thought that was interesting that they're talking about death takes a holiday because we meet death. Spoiler alert, we meet death.
Well, he says it here too, because when Alistair whips out that scythe, they're like really?
A friend of mine.
Really? You're going to use that little on the nose? And he was like, well, my friend, the Pale Horseman, he's got three others. So he mentions death. Like
I know, I just think it's
the boss death.
Yes. So that was just, it just kind of confused me for a hot second because I'm like, they talk about killing death while they're holding a Reaper. And I'm like, the Reaper isn't death. The Reaper,
Yes, but also we don't really know that yet. I don't think it... While Alistair mentions, yes, the Pale Horseman, who is death, I think maybe the boys, I don't know if they realize that there is like a boss death, right? Okay. That Reapers, to them, as of now, all they have seen as a representation of death, yes.
Okay. I know too much to...
That's a hard thing is when you've seen these a million times, you're like, but wait. It's like, oh, but in the canon at this point, it hasn't happened yet. Okay.
All right. So I'll let that go.
We'll let it go.
So, but Sam says, shoot us all you want. You can't kill us. Mm-hmm. And Alistair's like, au contraire.
Yes. Yeah.
Cut to Pamela back in the non-realm, watching over the boys as they astro project. And you hear like floors creaking, the curtains are blowing, and you're like, oh, something's afoot.
Yeah.
She thinks there's something afoot, so she gets up and like locks the hotel door and puts that little chain on the door. I'm like, well, that's not really effective. Not feeling very confident in Pamela's ability to.
Well, also she's blind, so
right. So I'm not feeling very confident.
She may be able to like feel presence and stuff like that, but she's limited in how she can fight back. because she physically cannot see them. So this was a mistake to just have one person, and that one person be a blind person.
Right.
Watching over
there,
a very dangerous situation. Maybe they should have brought in reinforcements.
Right. So cut back to Alistair, who is holding up that scythe now. He does mention the four horsemen, which I'll just say
are jonesing for an apocalypse. There's some big old foreshadowing there.
Yep. In when he's done talking about this, Alistair grabs the older creepy Reaper guy, hoists him up, does some Greek incantation, and just slices his neck and kills him. And the Latin that he, of course, there's like thunder and lightning and a white flash and wind. So the death of a Reaper is not a small thing.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big physical moment. The Latin that he incants is, wait for it. Oh, here's the Reaper's blood. That something that seal Lucifer this was stupid. Okay. Here is the Reaper of blood that seals that I would Lucifer binds the reference, let him open and rise. So terrible Latin.
Well, is that a direct translation?
That's a direct translation.
Okay, so direct translations are always the worst.
The worst, yeah. So basically, we get the gist, though. Yeah. Here's the Reaper's blood. Let Lucifer rise, essentially.
Yep.
So, and Reaper dies, and Alistair immediately moves on to Tessa and grabs Tessa.
Yeah. And then Sam kind of gets this idea, maybe we can ghost the chandelier off the ceiling. And he does this without words. He kind of eyes Dean, eyes the chandelier, eyes Dean, eyes the chandelier. You're like,
and they both look up at the chandelier.
Why don't we do this?
Do the thing. Yeah.
So they do. They do the little ghost telekinesis thing. And just as Alistair's finishing his incantation and is about to slice Tessa's neck open, chandelier falls down straight onto the trap, breaks the seal, and she is released. However, in the kind of midst of this, back in the hotel room, Pamela does encounter a demon who has been sent there to kill the boys. But he goes for her first, since she's, on guard.
Yeah, so she's able to she tries to fight this guy off, and she's able to run to Sam's body to try to start to bring him back. And in the middle of her secret incantation, the demon pulls her back and stabs her brutally in the stomach. In the meantime, the chandelier has fallen. The boys are able to boys and Tessa are able to glitch out, and they escape.
Tessa takes them away. She glitches out of her trap. She goes to them and
drops the chain.
Operates them out.
Bye-bye. Dean's got to get his bye-bye. So Alistair is thwarted for the moment. Dean and Tessa reappear outside on the street, but there's no Sam.
Sam, however, has been called back to life by Pam in the hotel room. So he wakes up not just in time. He wakes up just after Pamela has been stabbed. She's crumpled on the ground. He goes and exorcises this demon in no time flat. I don't even remember if he vocalized any words or if he just put his hand out and
I think he just put his hand out and gripped the air in a fist.
Yeah. And just
it was choked. Done. Yeah, literally choked the demon out of this guy. Yeah. And no bloody nose, no shaking, no real effort, other just straight anger.
He goes to Pam, who is like, that's right. No one can die in this town. So I'm okay. Asks for a drink instead of going to the hospital.
Such a cool chick. I just want to point out. She knows what's going on. She knows what's going on. So, she's like, Sam, just make me a drink.
Yeah.
So back in the realm, Dean, who's alone on the street, runs into Alistair. And Alistair does some more mind fuckery to Dean, I'm going to be here all the time because I'm in your head. You just can't stop thinking about me because I'm there and I will always be a part of you. And then suddenly Alistair is struck by white, blue, painful lightning and then gone. Dean says, what the hell? Castiel says, not quite. So poof, there's Castiel.
Who turns out he was there the whole time, just watching over them while they did this. In fact, he was the one who sent them there, posing as Bobby.
Yep. And Dean's like, wait, so you've been here the whole time and you didn't step in like for the whole rock salt being shot at us, the whole pain thing. And it turns out that while Castiel was there watching, they couldn't enter the room because the sigils on the outside are actual angel warding.
Yeah.
Angel proofing.
Yes.
And he also mentions that they didn't just kill Alistair, they now have captured Alistair. So the angels have Alistair. And they couldn't have done it without you and Dean, without you and Sam.
Yeah.
And Dean's like, why trick us? Like you said you were Bobby. Why trick us? And a moment of honesty from Castiel, who says, anytime we've asked you to do something, you've done the exact opposite. Yeah. So this was the only way we could get you to step in. And not only did you step in, but you saved the day. You saved the seal. The seal didn't get broken.
Yeah.
But Dean's like, but now all these people are going to die.
Yeah.
All the people that, didn't die are going to die. Can't you as an angel do anything about this? And Castiel says, no. And Dean's like, come on. Yeah. And he brings up again, you saved me and I was murdering souls, in hell, but yet you still, saved me. And these people are just normal, good people. But Castiel says, can't do it.
Yeah.
You're special or something like that.
You're special. And then the angel flaps away. So the flap. Disappeared. Dean and Tess are at Cole's, who is pissed at Sam for promising that he didn't have to go. And now he is forced with that choice.
Yep.
Tess is very gentle, though, in her persuasion, saying, look at your mother. Look at how much pain she's in because she's constantly going to feel you here. She's not ever going to feel the release of saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Of saying that goodbye. And then Dean steps in and says, listen, I know you're scared. I was scared. And I am scared. But someday she's not going to be here.
Going to be left all alone.
Yeah.
What he doesn't mention, though, and I thought it was interesting, is that the progression of a soul that doesn't, go with the Reaper. They don't mention the anger and the evil and the twisted that ends up happening. So again, Dean is now the gentle one saying, it's okay. It's okay.
Because that would be kind of a scared straight situation, where it's like, this is what you're going to turn into.
Right.
How they do at prisons and stuff like that. Which was not the right choice to make with this kid. He is there for his mother, to keep his mother protected and in his company, which looks like that's what she wants. But then he's realizes, but
she's sitting there weeping over photo albums and drinking. Maybe this isn't what's good for her. And he gives in. He's like, okay, and ends up going to Tessa. Asks if Dean is going to go along, and Dean's like, well, not right now, but I'll be there pretty soon. So no worries there. And so Tessa envelops Cole in this white light, absorbs his soul into her body to then take him to wherever they go.
Yeah.
And so this part confused me just a little bit. So now Dean and Tessa have another little heart to heart. And Tessa's being a little bit brutal, where she says, I've been around death my entire life. And the one thing I see over and over again is lies. And Dean says, what do you mean by lies? Oh, she's in a better place. Oh, they're finally together again. I'm like, is it lies because that's not happening? That doesn't happen? Or is it lies because we don't know, so we're just telling the lies to... So I was like, that's kind of cold. Especially given that she just did this beautiful enveloping of this boy's soul moment to be like, I mean, she wasn't like, ha ha ha, but she was like, it's all a lie. These are lies, just like you're lying to yourself thinking that the angels have something good in store for you.
Yeah, like you're chosen, you're special.
Yeah, that you're going to be used for good, or that you're going to be rewarded for this. This is your second chance at redemption. And I was like, ouch. That's
the thing with these angels and and reapers, which are kind of in the same vein. They just see things as they are. You know, she's
with wings. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just like, listen, maybe they're going to a better place, but I don't even know. It's like I take them and then they go on to the next step. So it's out of my hands where they end up going.
Right. But she does leave him with a little nugget of trust your instincts.
Yeah. Stop lying to yourself. Like, don't sit there and tell yourself.
Yeah, there's no angel sitting on your shoulder. Yeah. And she even says something bad is coming, right? Or trust your instincts that you think something bad is coming, or something along that line. And it's in that moment that Dean hears Pamela's voice. Pamela is now calling him back out of the realm, and he turns back to say something to Tessa, but she has now gone. And then he wakes up back in the room. It's still a dingy motel room. But, and as soon as he wakes up in the room, we see Pamela remove her hands from her stab wound, and now she's bleeding.
Yeah.
So the reaping has begun again.
Yeah.
And boy, is she pissed.
Yes.
She's dying. She's pissed at them. She's pissed at Bobby.
For ever introducing them to her in the first place.
And then Dean, why? Why does he say this? Dean says, you're going to a better place. Now, of course, Pamela says, you're lying.
Yeah. It's like, stop it.
It's like, what? Why? After what was just said to him? I mean, is it that just that powerless feeling you have when you can't do anything for anybody? So all you can offer is platitudes, and not in a, okay, this is all I have, but this is like, this is all I have.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to make me feel better by saying these words. You're going to a better place. I don't know. I was just like, why?
I know.
mean, why not? But why?
I know. Because also, like, the boys, they usually have the upper hand when it comes to controlling death, not just with themselves, but, you know, they're the heroes who always stop the bad thing from happening.
Right.
And here's someone that is close to them, and it touches, you know, it hits more close to home.
Yeah.
And also, and this was refreshing to see, somebody who's not resolved to die, because it seems like a lot of people so far, when they are dying and have a little bit of consciousness left, I was like, no, it's okay, just let me go. You know, she's just like, no, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
This is your fault. I am blaming you.
Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't say, like, I am going to haunt your asses. You know, that was going to be like the next thing. But it wasn't a funny moment. She was just being herself, which is, I didn't want this.
Yeah. You brought me here. I could have just been at home. I could have still had my eyesight. So that was refreshing to see. But it was an odd, I think that was just a script device. They just wanted him to say something so she could reiterate, no, these are lies. That's the theme of this episode.
But before she dies, she beckons Sam closer, because Sam was sitting on the edge of the bed with her, and he leans down and she again whispers in his ear so that Dean doesn't hear. And she says, I know what you did to the demon. I sense what's inside of you. And if you think it's good, it's not. If you think what you're doing is for the good, it's not. So again, no bullshit.
Lies he's telling himself.
Yep, think again. And so both Sam and Dean have been told by two very powerful women, don't
be stupid.
Don't be stupid. Yeah, trust your instincts and stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
So in the same moment, like within minutes of each other, two very strong women say to the boys, you know, snap out of it, basically. And she dies. Pamela dies. I thought she didn't die. Like in my brain, I thought she lived.
Oh, no.
So when I saw, I was like, oh, that's how this ends. Okay. She dies. I was very sad because I love her. But what I loved is the way this episode ends is a very earnest moment from Dean saying, what'd she say to you? It wasn't a tell me what she said. It was a very, he leans into it like, what'd she say?
Yeah.
And so we end on Sam's face of I'm not going to tell Dean what she said.
Yeah.
And holy shit, she saw what I did.
Yeah.
Which was murder this demon, you know, with like a snap of my fingers. And of course, then the episode ends with the memoriam to Kim Manners, with a couple of photos of him and the boys. Somebody said that Jared was photoshopped into that final picture.
Yeah, I read that too, that it was actually a picture of somebody else that they photoshopped his face onto.
I was like, they couldn't have found a photo. I mean,
yeah,
even if it was, who cares? He's in the picture. And a couple of pictures of Kim, with the crew and stuff in motion, doing the director point, Yep. There's always a picture of a director pointing. Yeah. That's how you know they're the director.
Yeah.
So sad, kind of a haunting end to that episode. I really enjoyed this episode. It goes by fast when you're watching it. Yeah. But I mean, like you just said, it's taking us a long time to talk about it. Yeah. When I looked up, I mean, I had over 15 pages of notes, and I don't think they were unnecessary notes. But just watching the episode, it goes by fast. But there was a lot in there. Yeah. If some of it was fun, but I think a lot happened. A lot of plot moved in this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, especially it started to move at the end of last episode with Sam's little personality changes. Maybe throughout the whole episode, but it was definitely more evident at the end of the siren one. Yeah. And now it's really coming in full force. Yeah, now
he's playing the changes. Yeah, it's like he is the changes. It's not just like, oh, did you see that? It's like, oh, this is now him. So I thought it was a great episode. I thought it was a great episode. What's next?
The next one is On the Head of a Pin.
I wonder if it has to do with angels. And how many of them are on the head of a pin.
That's all I got.
All right. See you next week. Bye.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this episode other than I really liked it. I'm sad to see Pamela go. I like how Alistair is this. I like how the actors can play the same character. Different actors can play the same character. Yeah. When it's so strong like that. That's always fun for me to watch, is how is this person going to play then? And it's not that much different. Maybe voices and maybe a couple of mannerisms, but overall it's like, no, I know who this character is.
Yeah. Whereas for me, the Ruby character, I think the actresses have been so different that I have to reintroduce myself to them each time there's a new Ruby.
I agree. I think blonde Ruby is a different Ruby than Genevieve's Ruby. Yeah. I forget blonde Ruby's name, but no, she was way more sassy and quippy than Genevieve's
Ruby. Right. She was the one who, when she got shot, she was like, my shirt.
Yes. Okay. Well, since we've been blabbing on for a very long time, we will make this outro short.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Great. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your patience. Again, we really appreciate you sticking around with us as we have such a haphazard schedule. But we love you for sticking with us anyway. Please, if you haven't, subscribe and or follow us anywhere you can find us on a podcast platform. You can also rate us on Apple or anywhere that they allow a rating. I don't really know any of the names of the ones that do, but if it's available to you, please do so. We would really, really, really appreciate it. You can find us on social. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere. You can also find us on YouTube. We post our episodes there as well. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we will see you next time, whenever that may be, for On the Head of a Pin.
Can't wait.
Me too. Right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.